Do you have a regular psychic, or is this somebody you happen to see the hand on a window and decided to give it a try?
Every time I saw the hand on a window, people, they would say, "Oh, you have a dark aura, tragedy is all around you." I was like, "Oh God, I never got good
And then they
news."
would charge you.
Yeah, then they'd be like, "That's $100 for hearing that your life is tragic." Um, no, I met this woman through a friend of a friend. She's absolutely amazing. Her name's Fatima. She lives in New Orleans. Her website is called awakenwithfatima.com. And it's kind of like having a very empowering therapy session every time you talk to her. But there was one time in the middle of the pandemic, I was feeling kind of hopeless. I had been pregnant. I lost my pregnancy. It was a very painful, sad time for me. And I wasn't doing anything, going anywhere, working. It was the pandemic. Um, and she just said, "You're about to enter into a time in your career that you thought wasn't going to happen because it didn't happen when you were 25. And I said, "Fatima, I don't think so. It's not really how it goes. Like, bless you, but no." And she was like, "No, it's going to happen." And then she said, "You've already done something and it's going to come back." And I said, "Well, I did this pilot, but I haven't heard a peep. Like, I literally haven't heard anyone say, like, the pilot was great or anything." And it had been eight
Crickets.
months. Yeah, crickets. Um, yeah, about 7 months since we did it. And she was like, "Nope, it's going to get picked up. It's going to be a big success." And she just sounded crazy. Like, I was like, you know what? She can't always be right. She's probably stressed out. She is always right. She's always right.
And of course, she was talking about Yellow
She was
Jackets,
talking about Yellowjackets. Yeah.
which is a fantastic show. I'm so excited for the second season. And I
Oh,
want to talk
thanks.
all about your role in that, your role in The Last of Us as well. But I also want to talk a little bit about, I was sort of apprehensive about how to approach this because I know you get so tired of talking about it, but you are not or weren't and aren't the prototypical sort of
Mm,
Hollywood actresses. We think of Hollywood actresses as, you know, well, you do have perfect features, but you
that's
know,
very sweet.
thin, and maybe they're exotic or quote unquote interesting, but they're
Hmm.
all thin for the most part.
Yes.
And you, for your whole life, really, I guess, although you can correct me if I'm wrong, you've had to kind of deal with the fact that you don't fit into this typical box for an actress, or at least I think maybe a movie star, if there's a difference.
Yeah.
And I know that after, well, let's start with Heavenly Creatures because I was really upset reading about that because not surprisingly, Harvey Weinstein was a real dick. And you describe your co-star Kay Winslet as having this unfettered confidence.
Hmm.
And as you mentioned already, Melanie, you were shy, and Harvey Weinstein didn't help build up that confidence. Tell me how you were treated at that time, which is really aggravating to me.
It's not like a traumatic, it feels a bit ridiculous to talk about when people have had genuine, terrible traumas inflicted upon them by that person. Um, it just was more, Kate and I had been on this adventure together, making this movie together, like a little team. We were, some nights we slept over together because we were so close. We couldn't let it go. And Peter, like, it just felt like this thing that we were in. And then during the release of the movie, it became apparent to me that I was not the important one. And at a certain point, I was kind of a hindrance. It felt like, I was shy. I would take a minute to talk in interviews. Like, often Kate would just answer all the questions because I'd be kind of collecting myself.
Well, you were
um
also 16 years old.
yeah, I was so young, and I was in New York. Like, the fact that I was in New York, I just was, we were staying at the Four Seasons off of Central Park, and every day we just would like take all the snacks out of the mini bar because we were like, they bring them the next day. Like we were
Yeah.
so naive. And Miramax had to say, can you please stop? You're spending so
Raiding the
much
mini
money.
bar.
Yeah. Spending so much money raiding the entire mini bar every day, just putting them in our suitcase. But there was just like a vibe of like, nah. Like every time I was there, I was kind of ignored, sat at the end of the table kind of thing. And Kate was being very celebrated deservedly. And, you know, it's Kate Winslet. Like Kate Winslet don't come along all the time. I understood from working with her what a marvel she was and how special. But it was very much, you know, the rest of the team at Miramax was really kind and welcoming. But whenever there was a fancy dinner, I just was treated as though I wasn't there by Harvey in particular. And it was
Did that give
hurtful.
did that give you a sense that, gosh, maybe I'm going to be a bit of an outsider in this industry?
Yeah, it really did. And I started to think, did I do a bad job? You know, and I always have loved film criticism. So I asked to read every review, and Miramax was sending me the reviews, and they were wonderful. So I was like, okay, people I respect, people I've been reading are saying wonderful things about the work that I did. So what is it? And it kind of boils down to, you know, you're not it, you're not the thing. And then, you know, Kate was getting offers from agents and millions of scripts, and it just wasn't happening for me. And I just had to sort of go, okay, this is not, I didn't expect that to happen, the Kate Winslet experience.
Right,
But
but you expected something.
I thought maybe I'd get an agent, and I just, for a couple of years, nothing happened. And then a very sweet lady in Los Angeles signed me, and I started working again. But it was definitely a slow process.
You once said that you weren't getting any roles, and the ones that you were getting would be, quote, the fat character just sitting in the corner eating a chocolate bar while the
Mm-hmm.
pretty girls are all at the dance.
Yeah, and I objected to that. I objected to their very existence. And also, you know, the other painful thing about it was that I was in the middle of a very, very intense eating disorder where I would eat 800 calories a day. And if I ate anything over, I would throw up. Sorry, trigger warning for anyone, you know, with eating disorders. But I was starving myself as much as I possibly could. I was obsessively exercising. And I was still like a size 6, you know, that was as small as it was going to get. And I was still being treated like the chubby one and the plain one. And it kind of, my self acceptance kind of came out of exhaustion at a certain point because I was like, it doesn't matter what I do. And I'm spending so much time worrying about like what's on this salad, like, you know, never having salad dressing, never eating a French fry. And I just couldn't anymore. I was so tired. I I, I didn't want to be playing the roles that were coming to me. So I was passing on everything. And I just thought, like, maybe I can't be an actor. And then there was this kind of amazing thing that happened that the more I came to terms with me and my body and who I was and what truly was like a healthy point for me, the more my world started opening up. It was like the universe was rewarding me for believing in myself.
And for
It sounds a bit
accepting
mystic.
yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I also had an eating disorder when I was um, in college and a few years
Oh,
afterwards. And I know this kind of strange mentality that takes over where it's kind of an all or nothing situation. If you eat a stick, well, when I was younger, if I ate a stick of gum that wasn't sugarless,
yeah.
I would feel like a failure and then punish slash reward myself by binging because I'd have to start again tomorrow on this quest for perfection.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so damaging physically and mentally. And
Hmm.
I'm so glad that for both of us that we stopped doing that.
Yeah, I'm so glad for you. It's exhausting, and it's I mean, you're one of the most brilliant women in the world. The fact that any part of your brain was occupied with what your body looked like is a tragedy. You know, the fact that it just makes it impossible for us to be our whole selves because you're obsessing over something that's so meaningless.
And spending so much time, as Adriana, who works with me, reminded me on social media, your body should be the least important. Your body should be the least interesting thing about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you keep going though? So you said you accepted yourself, the universe opened up,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me about what happened after that. Did you start getting the kind of roles that you wanted that weren't sort of the kinds that you were getting early on with the kind of character actress?
Not exactly. I mean, I was very happy being a working actor, and I just tried to make the best choices I could within what I was being given. And I guess the kind of turning point for me, I did this movie called Shattered Glass, which I think was in 2004. And when I saw that movie, I just had a very deep understanding. I was like, this is how I want to feel every time I see myself in anything. And of course, that didn't happen. There were still disappointments after that, but it became my set point for quality work and the type of work I wanted to do. And I really tried to follow a path that led me into more independent movies after that.
Let's talk about Yellowjackets, which is, as I mentioned, an incredible show. How did that come together? And why do you think it struck a chord among people who are watching it?
I mean, I just got a script. I just got an offer and a script, and it was so good. And I just was like, I don't know how many people got offered this before me, but thank you for passing. It's you're crazy, whoever you are. Um, I just was so excited. The thing for me about the pilot was that there are so many women, so many female characters, and they all felt like human beings. They all felt like people that I knew or wanted to know. There was no sort of stereotypes. And I think that that's the thing that's been appealing. Part of it is the mystery of the show and the fact that the show is very, very compelling and well written. But the other thing I think is that the women feel real. Like it's a group of women in their mid 40s, and we all kind of look like it. You know, we all look like we've lived. We all resemble someone that you might know. You know, my co-stars are absolutely beautiful, but there's not like a level of perfection that anyone's trying to attain. We were encouraged to not wear makeup. We were encouraged to, you know, look like real people. And I just think it's refreshing. I think people want to see themselves represented. And I think also the young cast is so great. They got
They
so,
are. They're
oh
amazing
gosh,
too.
they're just amazing. So it's just kind of a magical. There's some moments working on the show where I'm like, oh, there's just magic here. Just something magic is happening.
We should probably, for people who haven't seen it, just set it up. It's about a group of girls, soccer
Yeah, soccer
soccer
players.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's been a while since I watched the first season, so
yeah,
I almost
yeah.
want to rewatch it before the second season comes up. But it's a soccer team, a girls' soccer team. They're playing crashes in the wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
and it really becomes a sort of Lord of the Flies,
Yes.
survival of the fittest. What are they going to do? And each character carries a mystery of how they survived into adulthood
Mm-hmm.
and how they manifest the trauma of being in that situation. But it is
Yes.
so well written, and the characters are so awesome. You play Shauna, who has this um, strength and yet this vulnerability too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
How did you go about playing Shauna, someone who takes a rabbit who's eating her vegetables and basically fillets it and serves it to her family for dinner with a big smile on her face.
Oh, it's one of my favorite scenes. It was so funny.
It's so funny and yet so
Oh,
disturbing.
it's so funny. I mean, there's very little that I have to do. It's all on the page. This character's so fully realized. She's everything. She's very, very funny. She's sarcastic. She's kind of rough around the edges, but she's like an empowered sexual woman. I mean, it's there. They're just giving me incredible stuff to do in every episode.
I look at the credits and it seems like women are behind the scenes as
Mm-hmm.
well. Tell me about the people who created this great drama because I'm so thrilled when I see all the women in the credits.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Well, the writers who came up with the idea and our head writers are a married couple, Ashley and Bart, and they have worked on other shows before. This is their first show that they've been the showrunners of, and a wonderful man called Jonathan Lisco, who came on to help them. And then the writing department is so full of women. There's so many amazing women and very diverse group of women. And a lot of our directors have been women. Karen Kusama directed the pilot and really set the tone for the whole show. She's just so masterful. And honestly, like heads of department, like places where it really matters, there are a lot of women.
It seems like with every role you take, Melanie, this this idea of what an actor should look like continues to dog you. On the set
Mm-hmm.
of Yellowjackets, people were trying to figure out or how to help you lose weight, right? Somebody on the set. Well, you
I,
explain.
yeah, I mean, that story got kind of
Okay,
it
then
turned
let's
into like a
correct it.
game
Yeah.
of telephone a little bit because
Okay,
it got
okay.
published and republished.
Yeah.
One person, there was one person who I was working alongside in some capacity who was very concerned with my body. And it was disappointing because I had said to that person ahead of time, listen, I had a miscarriage. I have not been able to lose the weight that I gained from being pregnant. I think there's some hormonal thing. I've gone through 4 rounds of IVF since I had my miscarriage. Like things are not, my body is sort of going through it right now. And I'm just trying to give myself some grace and be kind. Um, and they just had a problem, you know. So it was just one single voice. And I do have to say, at a certain point, you know, as somebody who had had an eating disorder, my first instinct was to turn on myself, be full of shame, be like, what am I, you know, I had been on a diet. I had done, you know, nothing was happening. Like sometimes it just is what it is. Your hormones are like out of control and your body's protecting itself. So there wasn't really anything I could do. I was driving myself crazy. And then I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go to the producers. And I went to them and I said, is this a problem? You know, I've been told it's a problem. I'm trying my best. And they were horrified, mortified. And they just said, listen, this person has come to us. We shut it down. We said, please stop talking about that. It's inappropriate. We think she's perfect. And Ashley, who's one of the co-creators of the show, wrote me this beautiful letter that just said, I wish that I had seen someone who looked like you on television when I was growing up, and especially in a love triangle with two hot men. It would have really, she said, it might have like shifted my future a little bit. And this is something that I want to do for women. It's very important to me. And I'm so proud to be working with you. I love you as you are. I think you look super hot. I think you're gorgeous. Please don't think about it for another second. So that the team involved in the creation of the show, that's their feeling about it. And I really did feel empowered by them. And also I was playing a character who honestly doesn't think about her body, doesn't think about it. It's, you know, if someone was to say like, oh, are you sure about those jeans? She'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, it's not. And there's an empowerment in that too, especially for me at that time of my life, feeling so fragile and vulnerable to have to go to work and be in the skin of somebody who's just like, yeah, here I am. This is what I look like. You know, I think I look great. It really helped me sort of process some of my own feelings. So yeah, that's all. It was just one lone voice that was quickly shut down.
Well, that's a wonderful response from Ashley. I love
Yeah,
Ashley. I don't
I
know
love her
Ashley,
too.
but I love Ashley.
She's
And,
amazing.
you know, it just feels like it's almost like pushing a boulder up a hill. Do you sometimes feel like Sisyphus, pushing a boulder up a hill, trying to be the embodiment of what it means to be an inclusive society, what it means to appreciate and love bodies and people of all different types? Because I feel like we make gains and then we, take two steps backwards. And it's very frustrating, isn't it?
It is very frustrating, you know, in feminist movements, there's just a constant backlash, right? Like women start to gain power, women start to edge towards equality, and there's some kind of movement that is designed to push us back again. I feel like right now there's this current kind of craze for super thin bodies again, and I'm just like, oh God, really? Like, everyone's doing Ozempic or whatever it's called, and it's just
Right?
like, are we not past this? I guess not. Like, I guess it's just going to keep going in waves, and I just want to shake people and be like, this is designed to make you waste your time on this. This is designed to take your power away. I just, you want to be thinking about your life. What do you want to do with your life? Who do you want to be for your kids? Who do you want to be for the other women in the world? Like, it just feels like such a waste of time to me.
And yet it
Yeah.
keeps popping up with this Adrian Rich tweet that in The Last of Us, you were looking to life of luxury and not Linda Hamilton enough. And you had such a great response. I just loved it. Do you remember what you said on that tweet?
A thing that I will always push back on is this idea that people with curvier bodies, bigger bodies are greedy and lazy. Like,
Yes, the life of luxury.
yeah. So that was the thing I think that really I was like, you know what? Hang on a minute. I know how I live. I know that I'm a healthy person. And I don't like that. And I just wanted to make a point. First of all, the show I was doing, it's a post-apocalyptic scenario with mushroom zombies. Like anything's possible, right? Like I certainly think it's possible that somebody has survived in the apocalypse and is still like not a size zero. Nobody else is emaciated in the show, mind you. Nobody else looks like they're starving, but they're all thinner people. I know the amount of calories I consume in a day. It's not very many. So it's like the fact that people are like, you would never have survived. Well, you don't know. And also, you're not the writer of the show. The writer of the show wrote this part for me, knowing what I look like, and signed off on it and was very, very happy. So I just have an issue with things that are just misogynistic and just hateful for no reason
And
because
loaded and
and
loaded.
loaded. Yeah. I'm not gonna push back on everything because it would be all I spent my day doing. Because I get a lot of people writing to me telling me how they feel about my body. Um,
God, that must be so exhausting. Why do you even read it?
I don't know because I like Twitter. I like reading film critics. Honestly, like I could just have a feed that's just the critics I like, but I don't know. I do think about that, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I just like put my phone down. I have a 4-year old. I want to hang out with my child if I'm not working. I don't want to be, thrust into a pool of self-loathing because of what some idiot on the internet said to me.
And you have a little girl now.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you think about this and how she'll move in the world and feel comfortable with who she is, because it does trickle down to especially girls at a very young age, this pressure to look and be a certain way. And I feel like, Melanie, it's only gotten worse with social
Mm-hmm.
media. So I'm sure that's something you that's probably in the back of your mind a bit as you raise this beautiful daughter.
Oh my gosh, it's in the forefront of my mind. It's also been another good lesson for me because I realize how often throughout a day I nitpick myself. And I've given myself the challenge to never criticize myself in front of her. So, she every time she was cuddling me when she was little, I'd be like, "Isn't mommy's tummy nice and soft?" Like, and she'd be like, "You're so soft, mama." She just thinks I'm the most beautiful person she's ever seen, and I don't want her to think otherwise. I She doesn't know the word fat. She doesn't she's never said anything negative about somebody's appearance. She doesn't understand that concept. So as long as I can protect her from that, I know I'm not going to be able to do it forever, but I'm going to try.
And also praising her for her value when it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have anything to do with her appearance.
Oh, all the time. The thing that is most important to her is that she's kind, and she's so kind. And the thing that's most important to her is that other people are kind. So she's very special. She's such a good little person.
And it sounds like you're a wonderful mom, but also that your husband, Jason, is a wonderful dad.
Oh, I
Um,
got so lucky.
first of all, of course, I always think of John Ritter, who
Mm-hmm.
was so beloved and died far too young.
Yeah,
Um, and Jason sounds like an amazing human being. He's very much a co-parent,
very.
and which is wonderful. I also really appreciated, Melanie, how you thanked your nanny when you won a Critics' Choice Award, saying she is the most important person, because I think the people who help us take care of the most important thing in our lives are so often not appreciated or celebrated.
Absolutely. It's the hardest job in the world, and she's amazing. Like, there are some days I'm at work and she needs to start at 4 a.m. There are some days where she has to be there until 4 a.m. She loves my daughter. She's an amazing, smart, kind, wonderful person. And I could not, my husband is incredible. My husband also works, so he's not always able to be there. We really try our best to have one parent there at all times. But our nanny, like, we just couldn't do it without her. I'm so, so, so grateful for her. But yeah, Jason is such a good dad and such a good partner.
You're very lucky.
I'm so lucky. Like, he's also really sacrificed for me to have this moment in my career. He passes on stuff if it means we're going to be separated for too long. He's prioritizing my work over his own. There's just no ego. And he's, like today I had to get ready for a day of press, and he got up, he got her off to school, did the lunch, put her hair in little pigtails. He's a very present co-parent, which is great.
That's very sexy to see a dad
Yeah.
comb his daughter's hair. My husband, when I was doing the Today Show, would get up early, obviously, take my daughter to preschool, our daughter to preschool, and, you know, she'd have a real rat's nest and he'd
Yeah.
have to comb it and put it in a ponytail. And those are such sweet moments, I think.
That's so sweet. It's so sweet. And he
He
does a really
also,
good job.
yeah, by the way, I should say how lucky he is to have you, because I know sometimes he tweets these wonderful sorry, sometimes he tweets these wonderful words of praise for you, like, I am so sorry to do this, and she will be embarrassed that I did this, but my goodness, what an absolute beaut my wife is.
He's so he's so sweet. The good news is he's not just doing that on Twitter. He's doing that at home, no matter what. Like, I can be in the rattiest, most disgusting pair of sweatpants, and he'll be like, "You look gorgeous." I'm just like, oh my gosh, I
My
don't.
husband used to say to me, I think you look prettier without makeup.
Oh, that's
I mean,
sweet.
who says that?
Yeah.
My current husband, I haven't heard him say that. I probably need to talk to him about that.
Yeah, it is
Um,
nice to hear.
so tell me, I know we're almost out of time, but what are you excited about? Obviously, the second season of Yellowjackets is coming out. So you're done filming that.
Hmm.
Will there be a third season, Melanie?
Yeah, it got picked up while we were still shooting the second season, which is amazing. So we know we're going to get a third season. I'm
Have you
not sure
started
when.
that yet?
No, I don't know when we go back. I'm not sure exactly, but this kind of job security is very new for me, so it's wonderful.
What
Mhm.
other kinds of things are you interested in doing, excited about doing? Would you like to do a play? Would you like to direct, as every actor says?
Oh, I would never want to direct. Never, ever, ever. It would be my nightmare. Um, I get too obsessive about the acting part of it. I wouldn't be able to see outside of that. Um, there are some projects I would like to help get made. A friend of mine from childhood, a friend of mine from when we were 13 years old, wrote this incredible book called Before You Knew My Name. And it's a great like thriller. And I'm so proud of her. She's won so many book awards for it.
Aw.
And I she and I are starting to talk about trying to get that made. Um, I would love to do a play. There's so many things, but most of all, right now, I just want to hang out with my child and do lots of cuddles and take her to soccer practice.
And appreciate everything great that's happening for you.
Yeah,
Any
it's nice.
advice for, since this is International Women's Day,
Hmm.
and I feel like you've been on such a journey of self acceptance and self appreciation. Any advice for women who might feel they're less than, or not good enough, or not thin enough, or not pretty enough, or not successful enough, and all those enough that seem to haunt us on a daily basis?
I mean, I just look back on my life and I think about, when I was 19, I did a movie in the south of France and I wouldn't eat anything. I wouldn't eat like, I never went out for pasta. I never had a delicious French meal. I would get a salad with no dressing on it. And I didn't enjoy that experience. There's so much of life that I missed out on because I was trying to fit into something that I was never going to be. And, you know, we have one life probably. I don't know, but just you're going to look back and regret those times in your life that you didn't fully get to live because you were so worried about what do you look like. I look back and I think like, God, why didn't I just put a swimsuit on? Why was I so worried about? Now I wear a swimsuit all the time. I don't care. I'm just like, sure. I do, also another thing, I don't want my daughter to see me feeling self-conscious about having a swimsuit on. Like a body's just a body. So just as soon as you can try to let go and try to be fully present in your life, do it because it's just not worth it.
Those are great words of wisdom. I hope a lot of people take them to heart. Melanie, I hope that we'll get to meet in person
I hope
one of these
so.
days. You're so wonderful. And
Oh,
I
you're
think
so
you are the
wonderful.
nicest. No, you. No, you.
You.
You. I, I think you are one of the nicest, or the nicest person in Hollywood. So thank you.
Oh, that's very sweet. I think my husband is, but thank you so much.
We'll tell him I said hi too, and that I
I
was a
will.
huge fan of his father's.
Oh, so sweet. Thank you.